Hey everybody, welcome back to episode 6 of our 4th Age Total War Dunland campaign, and we're beginning with a good old-fashioned bridge battle in this one, or a river crossing battle I should say. There's not actually a bridge over this part of the map. This looks to be a pretty even matchup. We've got the numbers on our side, but they've probably got quality on theirs. The main army here is coming from Harding of the Wold. He's got a couple of family members here with some very strong units, as we have seen. A decent-ish mix of cav and infantry, and then the king himself, Deor King, with 49 men in that bodyguard unit. This is going to be a pretty typical crossing battle. There's only the one crossing on this map, and they'll be coming over with, let's take a closer look here. They've got some levies of Rohan, of course, some bowmen, some of those light cav that we've seen plenty of, but again, 2 bodyguard units. Now, against that, we have several pike units that are full strength. We've spent the past couple of turns getting some reinforcements in the area. So we've got 3 full units of tribal pikes, a couple of understrength tribal spearmen here. We've got a lot of bowmen right in the front, so that's going to draw them in, and they'll just skirmish, hopefully out of the way. We'll rush our pikes forward to sort of countercharge, and then all the while we've got throwing javelins from these couple of spears, as well as our 2 units of wolf hunters. We also have 2 bodyguards of our own in this battle. We've got a couple of chieftains guardsmen. Remember, these guys can war cry, and they're effective against armor, so really nice all around. And actually, we've got a 3rd one coming as reinforcements. I opted to have this come on as not controlled by the AI. That's usually my preference. And we've only got another unit of tribal spearmen back here. They couldn't quite fit into the, 19 units. So that's fine. If we end up losing a unit here, then we'll just get them. Let's see, they're bringing them across pretty predictably, but Riders of the King's House are approaching maybe a little more quickly than I would have thought. That's fine. These guys are set to skirmish. We've got a couple of units of hillmen, and their first tribal units or levies are going to rout before they even close. All right, we'll hit those levies. They're going to rout as well. We may as well stop and put these guys on guard mode just so they don't get drawn away. All right, let's send in the pikes. We're now making contact with the Riders of the King's House. Not quite sure what they're going to do here. We are killing them, actually, much faster than I would have thought. Probably some of that is javelins, but some of that is probably pikes and spearmen as well. Very, very nice. Losing heavily. Now, as usual, we do have to worry a bit about ranged fire, but it looks like they're holding off. They're just standing well back. Our own bowmen are far back here, so if those bowmen of Rohan approach to get some closer shots in, I think we should be just fine. There's a lot of cav here, though, so let's bring the other pikes in. How's this unit doing? This was 80 men. We've lost over 24. That's kind of expected, given just the sheer strength of those Riders of the King's House. Only 5 men, though, in one of these units. Where is the other? There's the general back there, 29 men. Okay, great. Oh, we see a nice mass rout. Everyone got the memo. All right, our wolf hunters still have a javelin or 2 to throw. That's actually fine. Let's go ahead and throw in on these Riders of the King's House. We'll get our pikes aimed at them, and everyone can attack that unit. And then we just need to deal with a king if he decides to show up still. We haven't used our generals yet. Let's see how well these hillmen do. And you can really see the size differential between them and the tribal pikes. Oh, these guys are going down easily, no question. There he goes. We're not sure if that was a pike, a spear, or a hillman unit who dealt the killing blow there, but our Rittermark scouts, so these are the horse archers. They're probably going to rout as soon as they make contact here. Let's throw in the spearmen. They're fairly light. And then we got to get ready for this. It looks, though, like Deor King is deciding that survival is better than throwing his life away at this point. I would love to take him out, but I don't think that's going to happen. What we can do, though, since we've got all these cav, is run them over. Just take them off skirmish and take out that last unit of bowmen and those levies of Rohan. and then see if Rohan has a follow-up attack on the campaign map. Well, no follow-up attack on their part. We do have another suitable husband offer, though. Here's a competent governor. Man of the hill folk, which is not really what you want in a governor, but actually -2 to law in a central settlement near your capital where you're not facing like mismanagement penalties is not the worst thing in the world, really. But let's take a look. Is he intelligent? He is. Okay, I think we'll take him. He's a careless fighter. Unwise is a little bad, but being a competent governor is actually very nice. He's in Dunland, which is our capital. Fantastic. Okay, we'll keep him. Maybe he'll go off and govern Tharbad or Greyholm or something. We are getting some reinforcements over to the Misty Mountains hold. Let's see what the public order is there. Still 51. We're going to bring in 100 tribal spearmen. That's going to bring it up to 51. And so there you see the kind of central conundrum. The garrison, I think, was 15%. Now it's 30%, but the public order has not changed. So again, I think that's sort of a fairly fixed public order debuff. So we'll just get more men over here, and if we can hold it, great. If not, then it's something that we'll be able to retake at a later point. Now, with regard to our northwestern frontier, which is essentially the Grey Flood and Tharbad itself, I'm a little torn about this because we have, of course, a single province, Northgard Fort, between us and our ally, Adunabar. If you take a look at our diplomacy screen, they are our only ally. It is a military access alliance, which means that we could march armies up towards Bree and Fornost and Numinas and start helping them out in theory. In practice, that's almost always a really bad move. You don't want to help out your allies in this game because they may just turn on you. There are some very specific instances where you may want to use a weak ally as kind of a buffer. And in those cases, military access can be helpful, or in cases where your ally controls a choke point that you want to get past. But in this case, I don't really see us taking advantage of the military access, and I don't know that I want to take the Northgard Fort just yet and open us up to attack from Adunabar. So maybe Tharbad itself will be our border for a while, but we do have to resolve the issue of Lond Dare down here. I think we can see if there are any. Yeah, here's an army right there. Now, this is a small army. They've got some Spears of the Bridge, which is a Tier 2 unit for Tharbad, but it's kind of like the Tier 1 Dunedain militia that is available to the Reunited Kingdom. They've got some Mariner Bowmen, which are pretty decent. More Spears of the Bridge, probably some more low-tier stuff, if I had to guess. But there was a larger army somewhere in the area that I saw earlier. They did not manifest when I was attacking Greyholm or the Southgard Fort or Tharbad, so we will just have to keep our eyes open for that if possible. The other thing I would like to do is just get a closer look here. We don't have any spies yet at what exactly is going on in the north. We've seen that Adunabar has taken Bree. They've held on to Three Ways. They haven't taken Weathertop yet, but we can get over towards Numinas. It looks like there's some fighting. Yes, indeed, they are under siege. The Reunited Kingdom are. And it looks like they're going to lose this. Let's see. Denethor of the Angle has some Orcish and cultic units with him, and then the sieging army has some hill trolls, cultists, mixes of trolls and men. So I would guess Numinas is going to fall. After that, probably Bree, or Bree has already fallen. Probably the Shire is going to be next on their list, assuming there are no other Reunited Kingdom settlements. Up in the north, sometimes the Reunited Kingdom gets here to take northern Arthedain. It looks like that has fallen to Adunabar instead. And so probably Numinas and the Weathertop are the only two places left for the Reunited Kingdom in the north, which again is really ominous for us because it means that we may be under attack from a strong Adunabar at some point when they take over everything else that they feel like taking over. All the more reason then to leave a nice little buffer of Tharbad right here. And Tharbad is not at war with anybody except us. So we can just ignore them and hope that Adunabar does the same. And looking at Greyholm here, I may have made a bit of a mistake with my building. I decided to go with animal fights here. This is the first step in turning this into a Ways of Darkness province. And I was a bit torn because on the one hand I could have gone cultic, but then Greyholm is a homeland for us actually, even though it starts off in the hands of Tharbad. And I thought, well, I can train all my native stuff here. It might make sense just to go Ways of Darkness because it's actually more amenable to that. If you look at the initial setup of the region here, Enedwythe, you can see that Ways of the West is 50%, Ways of Darkness 25%, and there's no Ways of the Shadow Cult established here in the region generally. So I thought it'd be easier to flip it to Ways of Darkness. And it is, although it still causes big problems. The official alignment, of course, now that we are at a tie in terms of the building distribution, is flipped to Ways of Darkness, and that leaves 95% of the people here who are Ways of the West. We do not have enough Ways of Darkness influence to decrease this number, right? We can't do that until we start getting more provinces nearby that are the same alignment, or bring some characters in, or go on the next step. So I think what I need to do actually is destroy this Animal Fights building. That by itself is going to get us back into the green, and I just need to be a little bit more careful in how I do that alignment stuff. We could start stuffing the place with characters, getting some family members in here, potentially building up surrounding settlements into the right alignment. Part of the problem is, of course, that I've flipped Anghal to the Shadow Cult. So again, this is a sort of a clumsy attempt on my part to flip alignments around. If I had kept Anghal as Ways of Darkness, that would have allowed this to eventually grow faster in that alignment. So that's something I need to keep in mind for the future. We can, in the meantime, though, restore this Yard of Fountains, which actually, is that doing anything for us? Yeah, it's giving us a little bit of happiness boost. We may as well keep it. We can retrain our tribal spearmen, because we can already train stuff out of here. And then go ahead and let's train another emissary just to be some defense against bribery. But one cool thing about Tharbad is it was built up enough that we actually can train spies out of here, or scouts as they're called in the mod. It's going to make it much easier to see what's going on in the world. Now, over here, last we saw, Sarnford was in rebel hands, but it has now been taken by Adunabar. For some reason, the AI is rather slow to take this rebel settlement. It could be because it's just kind of hidden around a bend in the river, so the AI can't quite figure out how to get over there. But Adunabar has done that. They've managed to leap that hurdle. And there are some rebels outside Three Ways, oddly enough. But at any rate, this is just yet more proof that Adunabar is moving quickly to consolidate its power in the north. Yeah, they've got Turn for Vine, and they've possibly also gotten Rond Lasoth at this point. What is this? Yes, they've taken Forochel, which means there's almost nothing that they don't own in the north, apart from the Shire, apart from these elven settlements and the dwarven settlements in the Blue Mountains. The other place that they may have a hard time holding on to is actually the Orc Holds up around Mount Gundabad, Mount Graham, possibly the High Pass Stronghold. I'm not sure if they have Rivendell still, but the thing we may need to watch is Swanfleet, because if they do have Rivendell, they may be moving down here. And then it would, of course, be very unfortunate if we suddenly shared a border with a very strong Adunabar to our north. So we will do that. We will be sharing a border, but we want to do it on our own terms. Now, outside Entwade here, I think Rohan is looking weak enough that we could attempt some distraction here. We can go ahead and hit one of these armies. Okay, they're just going to withdraw back. I guess we have to hit this other one. It's a little unfortunate there. That's going to get us caught into this zone of control, and it's just going to be a nightmare of zone of control issues. Let's see. They don't have any option to withdraw at this point, but I'm not sure that I want to attack them. But we're now on their territory. So I think what that means is they're more likely to attack this army than they are to besiege Entwade. If they do, I think we've got enough men in the area that we can counterattack. But what I really wanted to do was to try to grab Eastfold. So hopefully next turn they'll have an army standing outside the settlement like they do here. We are besieging the hold of Dunharrow. We got 4 turns left, and it looks like this army out of Aldburg is just frustratedly standing there. They can't get over there because of the zone of control around Edoras. So rather than besieging that settlement, they're just kind of waiting for whatever reason. Okay, interestingly, after moving one more unit of tribal spears, we're now at 55% public order. And let's see, the population here is 2,000. So yeah, that brought the garrison up from 30% to 45%. So we'll just keep doing this. We've got more spearmen units just hanging around. We'll just toss them up there until it gets to 100% from the garrison. Well, there's that army of Tharbad. They're moving onto our territory towards Greyhelm, it looks like. We've, again, got more than enough forces in the area to deal with this, so we'll just see what they do. Looks like they got some more armies. They're definitely getting into more of a defensive mode, though. Not really too concerned about aggression from Tharbat at this stage in their development. Okay, with those couple of units, we're now at a yellow phase. The Misty Mountains hold. Public order is 95%. We are growing oddly as a population, so I mean, maybe it's not odd, but at any rate, we are increasing the population, although we're losing some kind of every turn due to these low-scale revolts. And as I expected, we were not attacked around Endwade, but unfortunately, we don't have an easy way to attack Eastfold. But let's see. We've got an emissary up here. We can bring him down and see what it looks like around the wold, because there may be an opportunity there. No, unfortunately. Let's just get around the forest. You never know if there's somebody lurking in the trees, but I guess not. Let's smack this army. Maybe they'll go right next to it. Yes, indeed. Very good. So we'll go right here, right next to the settlement. We'll attack. We're attacking Freya of the House of Elfhelm, and of course he's just a family member unit, Riders of the King's House, but inside, Daor King, who did not want to stick around for the last battle, and now he's got no choice. Alright, so in this one we are splitting the party. I've got my cavalry, my 3 units of Dunlandish horsemen running towards the unit here of Freya. This is the army we're attacking that's outside the settlement. It's literally just him. And all of my infantry forces are running over towards Daor King. And we're hoping to get somewhere useful in time to face these guys and kill the king and kill enough of these men to basically get the settlement. But we do have to kind of keep our eyes on both elements of this. Now, I'm just going to harass with these cavalry for a little while. They're on skirmish mode, so that should be good. Over here, though, let's see. Let's get our pikes all selected. And there's the Riders of the King's House right there. I think we're going to keep everybody kind of back. Those cavalry are going to deal with my Dunlandish horsemen, it looks like. We'll let them. Let's get our pikes over to prevent Daor from going in that direction as well. And then here we've got our hillmen. We may as well get these guys on a war cry and then charge them out against the axes of the mark. There are a few other infantry units that are going over off in that direction. Not too concerned about them, but alright, let's make sure that we've got these guys all on the Riders of the King's House. Now, we may lose a unit or two of cav. That's kind of fine. But what I have to do is kill the king. Alright, so our pikes are over in this direction. Let's send them now at the Riders of the King's House, who are going to charge in and probably destroy our units of Dunlandic hillmen. They're losing heavily. These guys do have armor penetration with those maces, but it's just not a super strong unit in terms of holding up. You can see we're already getting both of these guys routing. Let's see, we've routed or lost a unit of our Dunlanding riders. Looks like they got caught by the Riders of the King's House. These guys are out of ammunition, and so, you know, it may be time just to bring them back. We'll run them over here. We'll give this guy a few waypoints and send him back as well. And then back to this battle where we see if we're going to have any hope of destroying Daor. Okay, 29 men winning, but we've got, you know, a good portion of pikes here. Okay, here comes a rear charge, though. Let's see, can they withhold? If these guys break, that's probably the end of us. We should be dealing with these axes of the mark here. We're just about done with them. Okay, war cry this unit. Charge them into the back of the king. Here, we'll go for the axes of the king's mark. They're just dealing with our spearmen. All right, are we going to lose these cav? I don't think so. Let's send these guys back. How's this going? All right, finally our chieftain guardsmen are going to be making an arrival here. All right, 10 men down for the Riders of the King's House. 9, 8, 7. Chieftain's Guard are actually cutting through these guys pretty well. We may have a good chance of killing the king. And then I think we'll be just fine. I mean, we lost a tremendous amount of units. We had, I think, 2 full units and close to a half of these pikes, and they're almost all gone. There are a couple of other units of cav floating around on the battlefield, so I am somewhat concerned about that. Let's bring these guys down here. We'll charge the king with our cav and hope to end it with a nice little charge there. I'm going to be hitting the Rohan riders with these Dunlandish horsemen. They outnumber us. That's the end of the king. Let's bring our infantry troops up. And the cavalry as well. Alright, this unit's routing. Good. Let's get away from the other cav. There's Riders of the King's House, so we want to make sure to corner them. If we don't kill this unit, then we're not going to get the settlement either. So I want to be a little careful about this. Bring our cavalry up and behind them. Alright, Chieftain's Guardsmen, let's make contact here. We've got some spearmen as well. Alright, we've caught him. I'm going to set up a unit of cavalry to charge him in the back. And everyone else should be moving off in this direction. Let's get our wolf hunters over. They haven't done a lot in this battle. I think I've just kind of forgotten that they existed. We're bringing one unit of cavalry way up back on the route that I imagine this unit is going to retreat if they do. We're charging our Dunlandish horsemen. We'll see how well they do on the charge here. They're utterly tired, but yeah, that's enough. I don't think the charge did anything necessarily. Now the real question is, can we catch this guy? I think so. He's utterly tired. So are my men, but my guys are lighter. And it's down to just this one man, and we've got some archers on him. So I think we'll get him. Let's bring the other cavalry over here just in case he's going to swing wide. This would be really embarrassing if we didn't manage to catch him. And in fact, the archers are killing some of our cav rather than the enemy general. That's the way it goes. Come on, please. Just catch him. There we go, finally. Okay, so with that, we should have the city. Alright, there's Eastfold. Let's go ahead and make it ours. I'm always checking for mercenaries, but I forget that there are no mercenaries to be had in Rohan under any circumstances in the 4th Age. And that is a nod to a piece of lore that I can't remember at the moment, but apparently there's no hireling warrior types to be found here. So we'll go ahead and lay desolate. Eastfold is not a province that I really want. I will go ahead and lower the taxes and just destroy some stuff. But the other thing that I want to do is see if I can use this somehow to make my border secure. We'll have to figure out exactly how we're going to do that. Alright, first option. There is a Bjorning emissary here. Let's send our man over towards him. And we don't have anything to do with the Bjornings. We don't have an alliance. We don't have trade rights or anything. I don't even know what they own at this point. But I am curious if they'd be interested in owning some land in Rohan. I'm willing to part with 10 grand for this. I mean, that's about a quarter of what we have currently. See if they'll take it. Fantastic. All right, maybe I could have gotten away with offering a bit less, but I didn't want to risk it. Now we've got a neighbor to our east in the form of the Bjornings. We've got our army outside here. We'll go ahead and put them right back near Entwade. You know what, though? Since this army's rather beat up, I think I'll bring them on the other side of the settlement. If Rohan decides to attack this, which I now think is unlikely, then we could just counterattack once these reinforcements show up. But I think probably what's more likely to happen is the Bjornings. Let's see how they look in terms of public order here. Just fine, so they're not going to lose this. The Bjornings may be open to trade. They may go to war with Rohan over this. I'm not totally sure. Or the Bjornings may attack us, right? I mean, they could always do that as another option. But this should end the war on this part of our borders for quite some time. Well, Tharbad has decided to besiege Greyholm. Finally, it's taken them long enough, honestly. But we've got plenty of stuff here. We've got a bunch of spearmen, low-tier tribal spearmen, of course, and a bunch of archers, and that should be enough to deal with this. There's no family member leading it. It's a lot of archers, which, although they are sort of technically superior to ours, we take a look at the stats here. They've got a melee attack of 11, missile attack of 16, defense of 17, compared to ours. Their stats are just better. Now, these guys also have a 3rd experience chevron. But regardless, we have numbers. So this unit is only 51 men. These guys go up to, I think, 70 or maybe 80 at full strength. But at any rate, all of these guys just outnumber them, and we've got so many missiles we can throw. I'm not too concerned about this. What I am doing, though, is assembling an army to sort of deal with Lond Dare. So we've got a bunch of men in Dunhold and Dunkreok and in Anghall, kind of ready to go. We've got a couple more seasons to go of training, and we did build the final tier of military development in Dunhold. That is the Warlord's Barracks. And the exciting thing that this added is 2 new units, Axes of the Wolf, which are an armor-piercing unit, arguably of somewhat less utility in Dunland, which does have a variety of those units. You've got your bodyguard, which is effective against armor. You've also got the hillmen available at a specialization building, which are effective against armor. But these guys are available sooner than the hillmen. Notice that the hillmen that we've had since the beginning of the campaign have not been getting retrained because we cannot train them anywhere yet. But we are one step closer, actually, to doing that because we can get going now. Now that we've built that Warlord's Barracks, we can get going on city development to go for our Hillman Fort, I believe it's called. Yeah, and so this is what we're going to go with in Dunhold. It just seems to make sense to have it here, which is kind of the capital of Dunland, essentially. And with the passage of that season, Dunharrow fell without a fight. We just timed it out there in the last turn, meaning we took no losses here. We've maintained all of our Orcish units that we bought in the last episode. Now, the problem with doing that, with waiting like the 6 or 8 turns that it took, is that we are now less supplied than we would otherwise be. We are supplied because we just took the settlement, but if we had been attacked or been required to use that army while it was besieging the settlement, we would have had some penalties here with regard to morale, movement speed, and so on. But that should be coming back nicely, and now we can go ahead and tear down these captain's feasts and get going on building our own stuff, our garrison farming. I'm also curious to see if this has changed the recruitment options anywhere, because theoretically that's another cultic settlement. But nope, we've got all of our native stuff, wolf hunters, axes of the wolf, and so on. So nothing has changed in that regard. But the really nice thing is now we've got a free army, right? We can just take these guys and move them somewhere else. Now, looking at the borders here, it's a little hard to see, but we do not share a border between Dunharrow and Aldburg. So if a Rohirrim army is looking to take Dunharrow back, they will, because of the way the AI treats borders, they will have to first take Fold, which is Edoris's province. So we can basically leave this with nobody. I'm going to leave just a single unit of Orc Raiders because that's about the cheapest unit you have as Dunland, and probably the least useful in battle, those Orc Raiders. And we'll see how they're feeling about that. They're actually happier to have us out of there. So we'll just go ahead and lower the taxes. We can set these guys, I guess somewhere right next to Edoris here, and then decide, do we want to fight? Do we want to deal with these armies? Do we just want to leave an army around here menacing the region? What do we want to do? We've got basically a free army, but in a way it's not, because we have to keep an army somewhere around here for the purposes of dissuading Rohan from attack. But so far, our plan of planting the Bjornings in Eastfold is working out just fine. They're at war with the Dunabar, our ally. And so that means that we cannot be allies with the Bjornings. We don't have that option, but we are trading with them. And so that's giving us a little bit of a bonus. And I like the fact that we're helping this faction out somewhat. So given especially that Rovanian has taken over the Brownlands and Dunabar moved up into the middle Anduin stretches here at some point, probably the Bjornings aren't doing too well. So they're probably going to be a fairly quiet neighbor for us. Also, we've completed the Temples of the Shadow in the Hornburg, and that means we have officially flipped this settlement over to the cult. It is now officially Ways of the Shadow Cult, and you'll see that there is no unrest about that, because this is our King Sheld of Dunkreok, who has brought Herumor the Lord Black. And so I think rather than leave him here, we want to move him around so that we can start converting some of these places that may not be too happy about the cult. I'm thinking that we're going to need him in Rohan. Entwade, we're working on Groves of the Shadow. Edoris, we're going to be flipping cultic as well in a little while. And so it'll be useful to have Herumor in this region, because these places are going to go cultic and probably not like it very much. You know, though, I'm thinking originally this Orcish army was intended to be used against Tharbad, specifically against Lons Dare, and we've got this other, kind of half stack around here with a bunch of pikes. I think this is going to be sufficient, really, to do all the anti-Rohan stuff we're going to need. So we'll move Biddy of Dunland. He's our noble with 44 men. He's quite talented. I'd hate to have him just wasting his potential down here on guard duty for Rohan. So we'll move him up here. And we'll head him into mercenary territory, just grab whatever we can find on the way, and we'll just go straight over towards Lons Dare. I'm going to try to avoid rebel territory. I don't want to needlessly fight those guys, but we're just going to head him straight down here. And just because I've gotten cocky in the past, and I don't want to have an unpleasant surprise, we'll go ahead and swat this army away. All right, that's enough to get them off of our territory at least. And the problem is now we need to get men back into Tharbad. I think we can manage this. We'll just grab a couple of these guys. Yeah, we got a yellow face now with mercs. So we'll march that army back in this general direction to prevent any attack from the north. All right, and now with that settlement development building built, we've got a few options here at Dunland. We've got 3 specialization buildings we could build currently because they already have all the prerequisites. The first one is, of course, that Hillmen Fort, which is going to actually give a little bit of happiness bonus, but really hurt our land tax modifier. Just as a reminder that if you ever see a plus and a minus next to each other before a number in the mod, it means a negative. So this is going to be hurting our income. It's also going to give us +1 experience Dunlanding Hillmen. Let's see what that actually costs when we queue it up. And yeah, that's substantial. It's going to cost us like 450 or so just in upkeep. But we can well afford it. As you can see, I've not been particularly careful with my finances, and we're already up around 41 grand again. And I think we're going to go that route. The other option would be pikemen training grounds. And this is a similar cost. It's a similar sort of military upkeep style building. It gives us our Dunlandish elite pikemen, which are a bit of an upgrade from our tribal pikes. You notice that the tribal pikes do not have a shield, defense of 17. Dunlandish elite pikemen have a defense of 28, and only 3 of that is coming from their shield. They're also just generally tougher and more skilled. Their attack is the same, but these guys have a bit better morale, so this is going to be a tougher unit all overall, albeit a smaller unit size, 70 men as opposed to just 80 from the tribal pikes. So we will be getting that. I like to build that building in Rohan because it's not dependent upon the location. If we take a look at this building, it says that the pike training grounds just requires warlords barracks and military or open policy. In other words, you could build this anywhere that you've got the highest tier military development. So that could be across the map. But the Hillmen Fort needs to be kind of in Dunland. This could also be in non-free folk or Tharbad homeland provinces, but it's a little more restricted. So I think we could build it in the far north, like up around Angmar. I think we could build it in Rune or Harad, potentially. Of course, I've never gone that far. But you can't build it in Tharbad, you can't build it in the Shire, you can't build it on Elven territory is basically how it works. So let's get one going here. I guess we should go over the third option, though, and that is hunting parties. This is something that I like to have for more of a financial settlement because it increases trade. I don't think it comes with any cost. No, so it's just an economy booster. Not a lot, but the sort of the primary draw of this is it gives you better experience for your lower tier missile troops, huntsmen and bowmen. So these are the infantry, skirmishers, as well as archers. So probably Dunkreok would be a good place for that, anywhere you've got a nice financial settlement. Let's go ahead and bite the bullet for the Hillmen Fort, though. And actually, I'm noticing one interesting side effect. We just completed roads a little while ago at Dunfrecka. So you can see we've got nice dirt roads here. But one side effect is that it has removed the option for us to ambush right at this crossing, which is kind of interesting. I guess we'll just move these guys in this clump of trees here. It doesn't make too much of a difference. But something to keep in mind, they were just standing there in the open. All right, well, I've just received word that the Shire has been eliminated, and that doesn't surprise me. Yeah, we can see that Adunabar has now taken possession of the Shire itself, and probably the other 2 provinces. We've got Buckland here that they've taken, and I can't remember, there's one other western province of the Shire over here, I believe. So Adunabar is doing extremely well. They've taken Evendim. There's pretty much nothing that they don't own in the north, although the Elven territories are probably still held by the Elves, at least for now. No signs of a siege over there. Again, it's all the more reason to just keep Tharbad to our north, at least for the moment. Now, that has been complicated by the fact that we are under siege here, but we can, I think, yes, we can cross just to the other side, and we can attack with our full stack. They're going to stick around and fight. I imagine, though, that they will withdraw on the battle map. Let's see. And sure enough, you can just see the last remnants of Tharbad's army moving off in the distance there. They are not sticking around for this one. Doesn't surprise me. Yep, there they go. That's fine. Right back to the fort. I'd rather have them have a somewhat respectable force hanging around, I guess, just to keep Adunabar off of their back for the foreseeable future anyway. But since we've got a free army, we'll just come down and repeat the same here with this. They're going to stand. They may actually stick around here. The balance of power is about even between us. Now, I'm a little alarmed because I swore I had a full stack that I was attacking this army with. Where is my full stack? Did I misclick on the campaign map and I've just got a single unit of tribal spearmen here instead of the full stack army that I just had? Is that what I did? Okay, well, I guess there's reinforcements coming from... yep, that's what's happening. So I don't know how I managed to do that. That's very surprising. To me, anyway. I'm sure you saw it there on the playback. Well, okay, we'll get these guys together and see what we can do with this now. Okay, so this is not great. Our army is entirely Tier 1 and Tier 2 stuff. We've got some tribal spearmen here. We've got a lot of archers. They are not getting off that hill. They're not withdrawing, at least, which I guess you can't blame them, right? They've got a pretty good position there, and they're evenly matched. So let's bring our spears and archers around kind of this way. We'll sort of move to flank. They're already hitting us with their bowmen. I'm kind of inclined to bring my cavalry around just as a distraction, but this is the captain of the reinforcing army, and I really don't want to lose the morale here. So let's instead take advantage of the fact that they're going to be reconfiguring for a while. We'll run our archers up. For our spearmen, we'll get them right there. They're by far going to be the most important part of the force. Alright, we're not shooting anybody yet. We do need to get where we can shoot people. Okay, they're not going to withdraw. They're not going to withdraw. They don't have any cav. They do have a fair number of archers, so we need to do some focus fire here. Let's see, they've got 4 units, it looks like. And then Spears of the Bridge. If we can hold them off with our bowmen, even sacrificing all of those archers, thin out the ranks. Actually, what are we waiting for? We need to charge forward here. Get our spears up there. Do they have any other units? Yeah, they do have some Tharbad militia, actually, but no axemen, I think. That would be a unit I would be more concerned about. And they're repositioning, which is good for me. Let us get a few extra kills. Okay, we can go for fire at will. We'll just send the general around, I guess, to sort of confuse. They may turn and start firing at him. But that would mean they're not firing at the main body, I think. Yeah, we're doing a lot of damage here. Very good. But yeah, let's focus on the bowman. No firing yet at us. We'll just pull him away. Still got javelins left in our tribal spears. Let's bring this unit around. Alright, they're just going to pursue us. Fantastic. Alright, I think we got this. Feeling a lot better. Now we can start to move in for the attack. Doing some skirmishing kills on these Spears of the Bridge. I think I just heard the head for the hills order. Not so fast. I screwed up embarrassingly, and so now you are going to pay. Okay, so we won a battle that I didn't want to fight, and so how on earth did I do that? I must have somehow pulled a unit away from this army, because that had, I think, a full stack here. A totally full stack. I don't think there was a single unit just hanging around, so I must have separated them from the army and sent them down here on accident, obviously. Okay. Well, now we've got a fairly free army. We can put them inside the settlement, maybe. Maybe we can move one of these mercenary units out. The army can go back in. And were you governing Northern Edgewaith? I think so. We're going to swap that governance around, though. We do have a general in here, or somewhere. I think it's this guy, actually. Yes, competent governor. Man of the Hill folk, intelligent. Yes, Bolka of Dunland, he's going to head up north to deal with that. And we're bringing our Orcish army along west. So let's move these guys where they're going to go. Right up to Swanfleet with you, I think. And you can move over into the northwest, right towards Lond-Dare. Oh, and while I wasn't looking, we have switched, folks. We have flipped our roster to the cult. So I guess that must have happened when we finished... Let's see, maybe it was when we captured a fort. Or possibly it was Hornburg's finishing. Because I noticed now we can train cultists out of the Hornburg. And this is not a fantastic unit or anything. They basically improve the morale of nearby troops through their chanting using the druid mechanic from the base game, right? They've got I guess a decent defense but small unit size, but that's a signal that you can train cultists. So let's look at our capital and see how our roster has changed. We used to have a few units here. Let's see. Let's go to the building browser because this is going to tell us. We've got our warlords barracks already built. We had just gotten up to Axes of the Wolf and Chieftain's Guardsmen, the highest tier stuff there, and so now we are losing those units. And actually a few other things. We're also losing tribal pikes, unfortunately, and wolf hunters. Oh, that's a shame, because I really like those units. But we're keeping the first couple of tiers. We're keeping our warhounds, and we are getting some very, very strong, but also very expensive units. Spears of the Shadow, Swords of the Shadow, and Axes of the Shadow are our cultic units. But importantly, this means that starting now, theoretically, we could go to the Misty Mountains Hold and start training orcs. We would need to develop it, get up the orc pit and so on. But I think that's what we'll do. We'll aim for that. We can restore this troll horde. I really don't think there's much reason to do that. It's very expensive. I don't think it would do anything for our income. So we'll just leave that. But this means we are now at the point where we can train orcs quite earlier than I expected. That may change as we expand into these territories. You can flip back and forth within a campaign. If we take over Dunfata and then I think it's Limfalis over here, those are going to be the Ways of Darkness aligned settlements, and we'll certainly keep them that way. It just makes sense. We probably should have kept Anghal Ways of Darkness as well rather than converting it to the cult. But at any rate, we are now officially cultic. Well, we've still got a lot of Ways of Darkness units. We'll make good use of them. This does mean, though, that you're sort of giving up a lot of your fear-causing units and some of your fast, hard-hitting, cheap units for the much more slow, heavy units that can sort of take up a lot more punishment. Well, okay, I think this makes actually a pretty decent point for us to end the episode. We've shifted... fittingly enough, right, we've got Harumar in our possession. We've basically completed, to the extent that I want to, our conquest of Rohan. We've settled other friendly Northmen in their land as a buffer zone between us and the Rohirrim, and we are ready now to put the final clinch on the land south of the Grey Flood and start training up an army of orcs that we can send north, hopefully before Adunabar starts to take places like Rivendell and Swanfleet. From there, the following episodes will see us cleaning up this mess and then sending some of our forces, which we've got a lot of, into the north. So I hope you'll join me for that. And until the next one, everybody, take care.